What price are you willing to pay for a dream? Is it the promise of tomorrow, the burgeoning talent of a future superstar, or the fleeting, yet undeniable brilliance of a legend's twilight? This week, a hypothetical trade proposal ignited a firestorm across the hockey world, forcing fans and analysts alike to confront this very question with an almost visceral reaction. Could the Montreal Canadiens truly consider sacrificing their most prized prospect for a chance, however slim, to hoist the Stanley Cup with Sidney Crosby? The hallowed halls of hockey debate, specifically TSN's Overdrive, became the arena for a contentious discussion that quickly spilled over into every corner of social media. Brian Hayes, ever the provocateur, dropped a bombshell question on his co-hosts. Would you move 19-year-old phenom Ivan Demidov for the 38-year-old, still elite Sidney Crosby? The very notion sent shockwaves, exposing the raw nerve of fan loyalty long-term strategy and the intoxicating allure of a generational talent. Jeff O'Neill, without a moment's hesitation, declared a resounding of course, arguing that even 2 years of Crosby's unparalleled play would be a worthwhile investment for any franchise. It's a sentiment born from witnessing nearly 2 decades of Sid the Kid defying age and expectation, a player whose name is synonymous with winning. To acquire Crosby is to acquire a culture, a work ethic, and a leadership presence that few in the history of the game can match. For a team yearning for relevance, for a city starved for a champion, the idea of Crosby donning the Habs' iconic jersey is, on paper, a fantasy made real. The immediate boost in attendance, merchandise sales, and most importantly on-ice performance would be undeniable. O'Neill's perspective is rooted in the belief that true greatness, even for a limited time, transcends all other considerations. However, the voice of caution, Jamie McLennan, offered a stark counterpoint. While he rightfully lauded Crosby as a Mount Rushmore player, a once-in-a-generation talent deserving of every accolade, McLennan questioned the fundamental premise for the Canadiens. Would adding a 38-year-old Crosby, even one still playing at an elite level, truly transform a rebuilding Montreal squad into a legitimate contender within his remaining window of peak performance? The answer, for McLennan, seemed to be a resounding no. It's a pragmatic view, acknowledging Crosby's brilliance, but refusing to ignore the realities of team construction and competitive timelines. The Canadiens are not a piece or two away. They are a team in the midst of a carefully orchestrated rebuild, nurturing young talent and building for a sustainable future. The debate, however, truly exploded when it hit the digital town square. Social media, the unfiltered voice of the fan base, erupted in a chorus of disbelief and outright rejection. The idea of trading Ivan Demidov, a player widely considered to be a future superstar, for a short-term rental of even Sidney Crosby, struck a nerve with the Montreal faithful. The passion, the frustration, and the fervent protection of their team's future were palpable in every comment. You are trading for Crosby to play with Demidov. There's no way that's the trade you make in the current situation. Montreal is in, one fan emphatically wrote, capturing the essence of the counterargument. The logic is simple. Demidov represents the future, a cornerstone for years to come. Crosby, while legendary, represents a short-term gain that doesn't align with Montreal's current trajectory. Another fan, cutting straight to the chase, simply stated, trading Demidov, only 19, LMAO future superstar. The sheer incredulity in their tone was unmistakable. The thought of parting with such a promising talent for anything less than a guaranteed multi-year championship window felt like an act of self-sabotage. A Canadiens fan articulated the deeper strategic concern, highlighting the team's recent philosophy: do not trade Demidov under any circumstances. They elaborated further, expressing a sentiment widely shared. They don't trade core pieces or players they've drafted top 10, certainly not for 2 years of anybody. They've talked about not sacrificing the long term for anything short term since Gorton got there. This comment strikes at the heart of the Canadiens' current organizational mandate. Under General Manager Kent Hughes and Executive Vice President of Hockey Operations Jeff Gorton, the team has been steadfast in its commitment to a patient, methodical rebuild, prioritizing draft capital and prospect development above all else. The idea of deviating from this path for a 2-year rental, no matter how illustrious the player, feels like a betrayal of their stated vision. It's an interesting wrinkle that Crosby himself mentioned during an interview with Pierre Lebrun, revealing he was a Canadiens fan growing up. This revelation, while charming, only adds another layer of emotional complexity to the debate. The thought of a childhood hero playing for your favorite team is a powerful fantasy, but even that sentimental pull cannot and should not overshadow the cold, hard realities of team building. How much are the Habs truly willing to sacrifice for such a dream, assuming Crosby would ever even consider leaving Pittsburgh? The sheer value placed on Crosby by some, like O'Neill, is evident in his further suggestion that the Penguins might even ask for Lane Hutson in a trade. This speaks volumes about the enduring perception of Crosby's impact, even as his career winds down. However, the overwhelming consensus among the fan base, and indeed among many astute observers, is clear. While Crosby remains one of the greatest players in NHL history, Montreal is simply not in a win-now position that justifies moving a cornerstone prospect like Demidov or even Hutson. The timing is everything in professional sports. If the Canadiens were a season or two further along in their development curve, if their young core had fully matured, and if Demidov's trajectory was a known, established quantity, perhaps the conversation would shift. Perhaps then, the idea of adding a legendary piece to push them over the top would make strategic sense. But for now, the future is still being written, and Demidov is a crucial chapter in that narrative. As one fan succinctly summarized the prevailing sentiment, capturing the unwavering resolve of the Canadiens faithful. They aren't ever going to give up a big asset for Sid, period. This debate, though hypothetical, underscores the eternal tension in sports management, the pull between immediate glory and sustainable success. It forces us to ask whether the romantic notion of a legend's arrival can ever truly justify derailing a carefully constructed vision for the future. For the Montreal Canadiens, the message from their passionate fan base is unequivocal. The future is now, and it's built on the promise of players like Demidov, not on the fleeting echoes of past greatness. What do you think, hockey fans? Is there any scenario where trading a future superstar for a legend's final act makes sense for a rebuilding team? Or is the long-term vision always paramount? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more exclusive content.